Nuzlocking. The not-so-simple art of willingly bringing yourself to your breaking point while you reluctantly shove your friends into the jaws of demise. If you don't know, a Nuzlocke is a set of rules for a playthrough of a Pokemon game in which a Pokemon cannot be revived at all after it faints. And every Pokemon in your team fainting means that your run is over and you must reset the entire game. There are also a few additional rules, those are being shown on screen right now. A torture method which I had the privilege of avoiding all my life up until a few weeks ago. What you're about to see is a washed up player who hasn't played a Pokemon game since he was like 10, attempting to not only regain his knowledge of the game, but make the game much, much harder while doing so. My very first Nuzlocke. So with that said, I arrive in Little Root Town and meet my rival before being faced with a crucial decision for the run. Which starter do I pick? Mudkip, a tanky powerhouse when it turns to Swampert, Torchic, a killing machine when it turns to Blaziken, or Trico, because he's green. The choice was clear. I grabbed my Trico and nicknamed it Pebbles before heading to Route 103 where Trico beat the brakes off of my rival's Torchic. After that, I make my way to Route 102 for my first encounter, a Zigzagoon who I named Ruffle, followed by Poochyena on Route 103 who I named Giarlo. I skipped through Petalburg and the catching tutorial onto Route 104 where I met my Wingull who I named Plebby. I made it to Petalburg Woods where I was faced with my first Team Aqua encounter, a fight which was supposed to be a cakewalk, but because of Sand Attack, Howl, and a skill issue, I managed to lose Giarlo in his very first fight, before scraping through with Plebby and Pibbles. I got a Shroomish from Petalburg Woods who I named Plop, followed by a Whismur from Route 114 named Pop. With my encounters all together, it was time for my first gym, and although my nerves were racked beforehand, Pleppy, Pop, and Plop made quick work of Roxanne's two-man team, and it was on to the next in Dewford. The moment I touched ground in Dewford, I went straight to the gym, and Pleppy's wing attack handled the gym trainers with ease. I expected the Brawly fight to be much harder, but with Pleppy holding an Oranberry going into the battle and spamming wing attack, Brawly ended up easier than Roxanne before him, only needing one Pokemon. At this point, confidence began to rebuild from my years gone, as I had gone through two trainers I thought would be hard with ease, and I had only lost one Pokemon thus far. But that tempo would change pretty soon. I picked up a Zubat in Granite Cave and named him Flip before getting a Magikarp to name Flop. Pibbles evolved into a stronger Pibbles before I sailed over to Slateport. On Route 110, I found a Plusle who I logically named Minun, got lost in Slateport before finally moving on to the rest of Route 110 and my next rival encounter. Plop made quick work of her Wailmer before she sent out a Combuskin and I subbed into Pleppy who could only take 2 attacks before needing out as well. So it was time for Flip, who was fast, but a flame charge boosted Combuskin was faster, making me have to sacrifice Flip for the safety of the rest of my team. Damn it! No! But it didn't end there. Next was Pop, whose echoed voice could not kill a nearly dead Combuskin. Luckily, using the rest of my team, I managed to pass by the rest of the fight with no more deaths. Malville marked my third gym battle, so I went and dealt with the gym trainers, 2 of which going smooth, but the third taking Minun on a rollout by Electrode, and then giving Ruffle the same fate.
Run's over.
Off of these rough fights, I decided I needed to catch or evolve some Pokemon, so I went to Route 117 and unfortunately found a Mario who I named Lilmar, something pretty useless for an electric type gym. After leveling, Lilmar evolved into Azumarill and Flop evolved into Gyarados, 2 very useless figures for this gym. I had no more routes to go for encounters, no more evolutions under the level cap. I had to face Watson with the team I had no matter how afraid I was. Watson opened with Magnemite, who I met with Pibbles. I Rock Smash for half health before he Volt switches into Magneton. I use Rock Smash again, which does substantially less than I'd hoped, and get confused by Supersonic, which makes Pibbles hit himself in his confusion, and after a Magnet Bomb, I have to switch Pibbles out for Plop. Plop gets confused as well, and hits itself before using a Poison Powder that has no effect, making me realize I don't know shit. Plop hits itself and gets paralyzed, meaning they have to sub out as well, bringing in Lilmar, who meets a Voltorb and then gets killed by Volt Switch immediately after.
Ah!
I bring Pibbles back out and he finally deals with Magnemite and almost dies at the hands of Magneton's Magnet Bomb. I sub in Pleppy, who immediately gets decked by a Volt Switch. At this point, my chances are slim, but not none. I can do this, right? Right? Flip takes out Voltorb, leaving just Magneton to deal with and 3 Pokemon to do that job. Magneton survives Rock Smash with a sliver of health before killing Flip with just 1 Volt Switch, but the chances are high with Magneton's health this low. Just kidding, Watson's Super Potion puts all my hopes to sleep, and Magneton makes Pibbles and Pleppy into soup. The run dies. At this point, my lack of skill couldn't be more apparent. Was I even going to be able to get this done, or was I just trying something impossible for someone like me who hasn't played in so long? I don't know, I didn't put that much thought into it, and I said, Mama didn't raise a bitch, run it back. I picked the same starter, but this time his name is Gex. Use Torchic as a mop before... Yeah, I forgot to record from Little Root to Slateport, but to fill you in, I caught a Wingull, Abra, Zigzagoon, and Wurmple who evolved to Butterfree, as well as a Skitty and a Lotad who evolved to Lombre and a Whisper, with no early losses like the last run. Nicknames will come later. I move on to Route 110 where I find a Gulpin who I name Glupper, and Abra evolves into Kadabra, making it actually useful. The rival fight on Route 110 goes substantially smoother this time, but not without flaws, as Skitty dies to Combusken's double kick. I make it to Malville again, but run away from the gym onto Route 117 where I catch a Roselia and name it Sal. I deal with the Malville gym trainers, and Weewoo the Whismer as well as Ziggy the Zigzagoon both evolve, making me much more confident about my chances for the Watson fight. My fears do not come close to true, however, as the Watson fight goes swell, making use of my entire team and having no deaths. Moving on from Malville, I pick up a Geodude on Route 111 and name it Rotom, because confusion is the best tactic. Followed by a Machop on Route 112 who I name Second Stage, as you need to trade to evolve a Machoke and I don't have that option. After that comes the Fiery Path where I find Numel, a crucial figure for the next gym who I name Eeyore. Everything is looking up until a random trainer on Route 111 costs me, because his Bagon narrowly survived a Psybeam before leveling Pain the Kadabra with a super effective bite. A loss, but one that can be moved past nonetheless. I met Crack Uncle Owen Wilson before catching Spinda on Route 113 and calling it Barf. I do not like Spinda very much. I fish in a Magikarp after backtracking to Route 107 and name it Shenron in anticipation of its future evolution. I also fish in a Tentacool on Route 106, who I named Swampert to make him not suck. I pick up a Seviper to name Ekans on Route 114 before blitzing over to Meteor Falls to help May, where I catch a Zubat and name him Gubble. Mop up Team Aqua and then do more mopping on Mount Pyre before heading to Lava Ridge Town and encountering a Spoink I named Tyrantrum. Finally, it's time for Flannery, and due to how little I've lost up to this point, as well as my team composition, my confidence couldn't be higher. And rightfully so, as Eeyore tore right through this gym all on their own without any mercy. I make it back to Petalburg and it's time to face my dad. Second Stage shows no mercy to the gym trainers, and before I know it, I'm face to face with my father. My nerves are definitely higher heading into this fight, and for one reason: slacking. Pokemon with dangerously high stats putting my entire team at risk, which I must not only deal with one of, but 2. As well as Norman's team having the move Retaliate, which does double damage if a Pokemon in his party has fainted in the previous turn. That being said, slacking has one flaw, and that's its ability, Truant, only letting it move once per 2 turns and giving me good opportunities for switches and moves, letting me make it out of this battle unscathed using the right team, although not without worries. I head over to Malville with Wally, where Gubble evolves before beating more Team Aqua ass. I get my Mega Bracelet and head to Route 118, where I catch an Electrike and name it Minun in honor of my electric Pokemon in the first run. On the same route, I run into an optional trainer, and due to my complacency, Weewoo ends up dead. No way, Matt! Catch a Gloom on Route 119 before facing Shelly at the Weather Institute, where I realized Sharpedo was my kryptonite when it killed not 1, but 2 of my useful Pokemon. Rip Sal and Ziggy. But Barf carries through in the end. I meet my rival on Route 119 and am forced to humble her once again with Gex and Shenron, before Minun evolves into Manectric, something very useful for the rest of this run. I catch a Tropius on Route 120, which I know childhood me would die for, and name it Mewtwo because it's here to stay. I make it to Fortree and Minun cleans out the one gym trainer I had to face before I'm on to Winona, who I plan on sweeping easily with my proven strong Manectric, and that goes exactly to plan. It kills one Swallow before dying to her Alteria's Earthquake. No! What? So moving past that, Shenron sweeps the rest of her team with Ice Fang, which is something I really wish I had considered as an option beforehand. I caught a Shuppet on Route 121 and named it Strudel, got a good rod, and then head over to Mount Pyre where I caught a Duskull to name Duck, and then dealt with another Sharpedo, which went much smoother than last time by putting my trust in Barth. Dealt with more Aqua in Slateport, causing Gex to finally evolve into Sceptile, and then reach Lilycove where you were faced with the final rival fight before the champion. But of course, I humbled her once more with no losses to my team. Head to Aqua Hideout where I was faced with an unfortunate situation. Double was put into a fight against another Golbat who knew Mean Look, trapping him in battle and getting him killed. A really unfortunate loss, but we ball. Let's through the rest of Aqua Hideout with no remorse in Gubble's memory, evolving Duck into the shittiest Dusclops known to man and Strudel into Bannet, a lethal weapon with no remorse which I believe to be crucial to my team composition. It was on to Lisa and Tate, and with Bannet in hand, I was confident. That was, of course, until a random gym trainer had Crunch on their giraffe rig and put him to eternal sleep before he could even be of use for Liza and Tate. No! Oh! Nonetheless, I carried myself even with my scratches and scars, evolving Tyrantrum into Grumpig and coming face to face with my most feared fight of the game, a gym leader double battle. However, Liza and Tate had one thing in common, that both their Pokemon were rock, making my water and grass types much more effective for this fight, and giving me a fighting chance with type advantages. Throughout the fight, using various assets of my team, I was able to play around each Pokemon's moves and make mine count, but near the end, Barf was one-shot by a Psychic and ended the match as our only casualty. After finding Team Aqua once more, I was faced with the final and hardest Archie encounter in the game, in which he can Mega Evolve his Sharpedo, something I did not prepare for, and in turn my Sceptile was not holding its Mega Stone, putting me at an automatic disadvantage. Just as I predicted, Mightyena, Muck, and Crobat went perfectly fine, taking out 3/4 of his team without a loss or even a Pokemon with very low health for that matter. Then the tide shifted, no pun intended. Mega Sharpedo is insanely fast and insanely powerful along with that, causing me to sacrifice second stage and Doom just because I was afraid of using my valuable Pokemon in such a high danger situation. But upon subbing in Gex, he outsped somehow and won me the fight before I lost more or all of my team. But this was just the beginning of my troubles, because now I had to deal with Primal Kyogre, a powerhouse that, if not handled right, can end my entire run. My only goal was to kill, not catch, so I gave Sceptile his Mega Stone and this time prayed that this went somewhat smoothly. It did not. My overconfidence was Gex's downfall, as I put him into the fight first, planning to Mega Evolve and put Kyogre down once and for all, quickly. And that went smooth until it didn't, because it turns out Kyogre knew Ice Beam, and despite doing half health and damage, this was the end of the line for him. Maybe the most heartbreaking loss of the entire run, and I was completely chapped, but Gex would want us to ball, so that's what we did. Anyways, casually after saving the world, I failed the children's puzzle before facing my final gym leader, Wallace. Mewtwo dealt with Love Disc before getting frozen by an all too familiar attack, Ice Beam. After that, we sailed through the gym smoothly, and despite the one loss, I was just happy I had made it this far. It was time for some change before Victory Road, so I got my Pokedex upgraded before catching a Wailmer to name Blubber, a Love Disc to name Trisha, and evolving Glupper into Swalot as well as Blubber into Wailord. Backtracked to Route 123 and caught a Corphish, naming it Lobster, before going diving and catching a Clamperl, Chinchou, and Relicanth, naming them Toyota, Tingle, and Pain 2. Above water once again, I caught a Spheal, Seal, Seadra, and Clauncher, naming them Warcrime, General Service Tax, Hydra, and Glock, Everybody evolved to their final stages, and after some moveset adjustments as well as planning, it was time for Victory Road, where I immediately caught a Medicham and named it No, because I didn't want it. At all. Partway through, Eeyore evolved into Camerupt, which I genuinely had no idea Numel even had an evolution. I made it through most of the trainers unscathed before coming face to face with Wally for my final fight with him. The difference being he had Mega abilities and I didn't have any stones other than Sceptolite, so I was once again at a disadvantage off the rip. This could be do or die, and I was right on the doorstep of the Elite Four. I would never live it down if I lost now. Which was fine, because this was by far the easiest important fight of the game, and I dealt with his team using only GST, Eeyore, and Blubber. Finally, it was time. The Elite Four. 4 insanely strong trainers, followed by the strongest of them all, the champion. This was as do or die as it could possibly get. I built my team, changed around my moves, and settled on Warcrime, No, Swampert the Tentacruel, Blubber, Glepper, and Lobster. Each had their job, and if things went smooth, they would execute. This was the point where I was really missing my strong picks like Shenron, but these would have to do. The Sydney fight was no cakewalk, but using No's high jump kick on Mightyena, Absol, and Shiftry for one-hit kills put me at a huge advantage before raw overpowering Sharpedo using Warcrime and Blubber, then letting Glepper deal with Cacnea at the end. 1 down. On to Phoebe, who gave Swampert a very close call with Dusclops before Blubber finished the job, then subbing into Glepper against Dusknoir due to its Thunder Punch, who poisoned Dusknoir but needed help from Warcrime before moving on to Sableye, who I knocked out using what was left of Warcrime and Blubber's health, despite it knocking Blubber down to 4 health and giving me a heart attack. Finally, when Banette came out, it was time for Lobster, my only dark type on my team, to carry me to a safe and sound victory over Phoebe, only faced by 2 Banettes who were child's play for him. 2 down. Now, it was time for Glacia, someone I had very little direct counters for, but who also countered me very little. Opening with No, a high jump kick dealt with Glalie before I had to take her out as it was faced by a Frostlass who had Ghost typing. Although this meant No couldn't counter the whole team, it did mean Lobster gained a lot of usefulness, killing Frostlass with Crunch but putting himself at a dangerously low health, and when faced with a Walrein, I had to bring him out for his own safety and bring in someone to raw overpower who I'd hoped could be Blubber, as I figured Glacia's Walrein would be trying to hit a Sheer Cold, an insta-kill move but with only 30% accuracy, making it extremely unlikely to hit and giving me opportunity to get hits in with its wasted turns. Unfortunately, the very first Sheer Cold she used hit and of course killed Blubber, a crucial piece of my team. Regardless, I had to move past and I brought in Warcrime, absolutely sure it would continue trying Sheer Cold and would not land it again. But I was wrong, because on the 3rd turn of Warcrime being in, Walrein landed another Sheer Cold, devastating me and putting my chances making it out of this fight in jeopardy, much less beating the Elite Four. I brought in No, who outsped and killed with a high jump kick, before being met with another Frostlass and needing out again, causing me to bring in Glepper as Lobster was too risky due to his health, who landed 1 Sludge Bomb before needing to be subbed into Swampert, who missed his Sludge Wave before landing Surf twice and killing Frostlass, but not without his health suffering along the way. Glalie came in and I had hoped my idea of using No would still work, but to no avail, as Glalie got 2 protects in a row, which only has a 33% chance of happening by the way, causing high jump kick to miss and damage No all the way to death. Shortly after, Glepper was killed by Freeze Dry and Lobster the same way, before Swampert managed to squeeze a win out with a critical Surf and 25 health. 3 down? At this point, the run was over. There was no possibility of me making it through the next 2 trainers with just a Tentacruel, but if I was going to go down, I was going to go down in a blaze of glory. Bringing my Tentacruel to Drake's team, and I took out his Altaria before being met with my inevitable fate of failure. Some would reset here and move on, but after that much bad luck with 3 highly unlikely possibilities working only for the opposing trainer and my run being killed on such a whim, I was out of gas. I defeated Glacia, and after she killed 5 of my best friends, that's all I could have ever cared about. That was my champion win. I reconnected with Wally as images of Sheer Cold and Protect flashed through my head, as well as Shenron and Gex. Was it enjoyable watching my friends killed in front of me for an entire game? Not really. Will I do it again and win instead someday? Yes. Yes, I will. But not today.